Labour Federation, COSATU, and its affiliates are today holding pickets and marches over a number of socio-economic issues plaguing the country. These include poverty, inequality, load shedding and high crime levels. We take a look at the impact of the strike action now. We're joined by Michael Bagraim, a Labour expert. Michael, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So we've been covering the story from various angles across the country, and the turnout has been pretty decent. What was your assessment of how effective, maybe that's too early to even ask, but your assessment of what you've seen so far from the strike?
Well, look, I have been watching it carefully, and I even went down to visit the one in Cape Town just to have a look. First of all, I don't think the turnout's been decent. I think it's been quite low in COSATU terms, although many of the unions their affiliates did join them. Effectiveness, well, I'm not so sure, because I think every South African by now knows that the cost of living is impossible, that unemployment is running at almost a world high. We know that the economy has been destroyed. So the message brought by COSATU is a well-played message. Any South African who has been watching television, radio, newspapers, they know about the issues, and everyone's worried about it. I think we're all in the same boat as COSATU. What is important is for them to speak up every now and again, and hopefully not too often, because each time they do speak up, people are not earning their salaries for the day. There has thankfully been no violence. There's been nothing destroyed, so it's been a very well-marshaled plan, so that's worked out quite well. But I'm not so sure that it's going to make any inroad anywhere at all. Mm-hmm. What we really need is we need to tackle the actual problem. We need to get to the root of the problem, and that is unemployment and poverty. Those are the real big issues, and they go hand in glove together, unfortunately. I think at the end of the day also, we're seeing that the numbers in the trade union movement have dropped radically. COSATU is not the force that it used to be. In fact, none of the trade unions are the force they used to be, because the unemployment figures are so high. Nationally, it's about 40%, but amongst the youth, or the people who come out on strikes, in most places it's up to 60% unemployment. So you can understand that the turnout couldn't have been all that good, and some of the big trade unions also said, we're not coming out, we can't afford to lose a day's pay. So although I'm not condemning the march and the pickets, I'm not condemning it at all, I'm just not so sure there's any value in it. There would be more value if they put pressure on the governing party to deregulate, and in fact COSATU is calling for exactly the opposite. They're calling for more regulations, and those regulations, unfortunately, have left us with probably the highest unemployment rate in the world, and our productivity is the second lowest in the world. So they're not doing us a favor, the trade unions. And to go on a march against their partner is also a problem.
Yeah, so essentially you would characterize COSATU as part of the problem. We've spoken to them a number of times here on the program, and they mentioned, well, their hands are tied, because you question the proximity to power and them being able to actually make a tangible difference. They'll tell you no one from the governing party is listening to them, which begs the question, if they're not being listened to, what about you and I?
Well, certainly no one's listening to me. that we can take as a given, but it is very sad that they are in partnership, they're in the alliance with the governing party, the ANC, and the ANC are doing almost everything to destroy jobs. So, it is sad that they're in that alliance. In fact, I strongly believe they shouldn't be in an alliance, and they, as a powerful body unto themselves, they should be calling the shots. They did so during apartheid and brought the apartheid government to its knees. Let's face it, it was COSATU that did that. Any historian will tell you that they brought the economy down and they brought the apartheid government to its knees. And I think it's now about time that they stood up and actually showed that muscle, that the government has to start releasing the regulations that are destroying jobs. It can't carry on like this. We're just very lucky in South Africa that our people are obedient. You saw what happened with the Arab Spring up north when they had unemployment only at 20%. We're double that now. And South Africans somehow are tolerant of a government that's destroying the country.
Oh my, that's a scary thought. Our people are obedient. You mentioned the root of the problem. I'm not sure, Michael, if you've walked on a road or driven on the road or whatever, and you catch a big tree and you see its roots protruding through the street or the tar, and you can tell that this has been around for a very long time. Now, this is nothing new in South Africa in terms of the socioeconomic conditions, in terms of the problems that we are facing. And so when you speak of the root of the problem, you can hardly even trace how far down those roots go. But what is nourishing the root of the problem in South Africa? You accuse the ANC of destroying jobs in this country. Is it as simple as that?
Well, no, it isn't. Obviously, it's a very complex problem. But you will recall that when our previous Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, said he could release 1 million jobs by uncoupling small business from big business by moving them out of the bargaining council system, that was correct. He was absolutely correct. We could have had 1 million extra jobs, and somehow he got shouted down. And of course, at the time, COSATU also helped shout him down, being in the tripartite alliance. I got a fright when that happened, because Tito Mboweni was at the center of power, and he saw the problem. He saw the root of the problem. He said, we need to release small businesses. They're the people making jobs. They're creating jobs. Big business is shrinking. Government is shrinking. Only people who can give jobs are small businesses, and we need to get them not only to survive but thrive in South Africa. We need to be able to have the spaza shop be able to compete with Pick and Pay. It's as simple as that, and I don't think it's such a major problem. The reality is, and that's a big reality, is that we are now at bottom level, and if we're going to get any worse than this, I don't think our people will be obedient. I really don't think so, and I'm worried about it. I intend to live here for the rest of my days. Not very long, but the rest of my days. And I'd like to live in a peaceful country where my neighbor is able to put food on the table. And at the moment, my neighbor can't put.
Long may you live to see that, Michael. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Michael Bagraim is a Labour analyst.